Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Thank you for watching the debate that just occurred between me and Brother Al Yemeni. I'm not sure why my microphone is acting the way it did. But with that said, let me see if people will join first. The stream is still going, bro. I made a new one. What's up? What's up? Oh, it's live. I see. Okay, I need to stop my other stream. Let me see how I can stop my other stream. Post debate hangout. No, the other one is done. You should be good now. I made a new stream. You did well. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, good. That was I'm gonna call you gun because you came with a smoking gun. That was a good question. Because if you're talking about someone's ability to write, the word is completely spelled differently. I think overall it was a good debate. He was a lot more capable of standing his ground than the other debate with the Muslim apologist. But he unfortunately also did the same usual errors that Sunnis do, where they misquote verses, they take them out of content, they quote part verses, and their argument, the debate is very easy because they don't have the Prophet's explanation. They have a bunch of books and a bunch of things, like thousands of books now, hundreds of books now, and they don't have one book where it's like the Prophet's explanation, right? So, Assalamu alaikum. You did a good job making them open their brain about Kalamullah. Thank you. I meant it one-sided because you brought the verses of God into the debate. God's beating them. وَالَّذِينَ يُجَادِلُونَ فِي آيَاتِ اللَّهِ مَا لَهُم مِّن مَحِيصٍ. So the people that debate with the verses of God, they have no exit. Yeah, you can. I'll put it. But it has to be a short one. The thing about Harun, I have so many of these things where I pull them out that I haven't pulled them out before. So I always have these like new problems that I have never said before. So if someone does watch my material, she doesn't know what to answer, so they get closed. The one with the spider protecting the Prophet. They say that this is the enemy, or not the enemy. This is the soldier that people could not see, but yet you could see a thing. So please refer to this path. No, I call this path the believer's path. We're not hadith rejectors. We're not Quranists. Quran alone is for them to understand, but we are the believers. I love you too, Ali. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the crux of the issue. Hadith abrogates the Quran. That's the epitome. Yeah, the words of the Prophet, as they say, Ati'u Rasul. A Rasul can abrogate the word of God. Ma nansakhu min ayah. Okay, I guess he has the duty there. Make a short of that ridiculous claim that the Hadith supersedes the Quran. Yeah, I guess so. It really does. I love your Quranic remedies, bro. Thank you. I wish that I get more time to make them. They take about an hour to do that. 20 minutes, it takes about an hour. And finding an hour during the day in this day and age for me is a little difficult. Hopefully, when I get back to my other spot, because I don't know how long I'm going to stay here in Uganda. But when I get to the other spot, I will restart the Quranic remedies again. I love doing them. They're fun. Oh yeah, Juju Matjuj for me is the big war between the West and the East. It's the same tribe of people fighting each other. So that's what I believe. But this is, again, personal at this point because these are future events.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, yo?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Well, that was a very interesting conversation you had with the brother. You definitely got him when you said when he was talking about Harun and he didn't know about what was talked about. That was super funny. But yeah, it was a very interesting conversation. It was very good. But I had two questions for you. Like I have a bunch of questions for you, but I can't take all your time. But I have two really important. One is just like an interesting question. The second one is like extremely important to me. Like serious questions. But let me just start with the
Start
quick
start with your important one.
Okay, so I was watching some videos online about the Quran, particularly chapter 4, verse 11 and 12, where the atheists say like, oh, there's a calculation error in the Quran.
Yep.
And to me, I don't know, like you know more knowledge than me. That's why I'm asking.
Mhm.
Is there another way to explain this supposed
There is
calculation error from the Quran? Because the Hadith, there's a obviously they have a calculation for it that makes it equal. But what is the Quranic
no. I
explanation?
mean, sorry, the Quran itself solves this because what they try to do is do the wife's cuts, the kids' cuts, and the parents' cuts at all the same time, and then they have an extra, and the extra that they're always finding is the wife's cut. So it's like the wife is supposed to get a 1/8, and then they're saying, "Oh, look, if he has 3 daughters and a mother and like a wife, there's an eighth. What am I supposed to do with the eighth? Well, the eighth is the wives that you're incorporating into the main cut." God uses a very important term. من بعد وصية من بعد وصية أو دين. So after a will or a debt. He uses that in both ayat. So you're supposed to, let's say the guy has 100%, right? 100% is his wealth right there. You take an eighth, you give that to the wife. And the remaining, now that 100% of the remaining gets cut up with the verse that's before it. And that way the calculation is always 100. It's always correct. I mean, there's no excess.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. You're pretty much saying like it's mentioned the potential amount that will be towards like not the extra amount, but that if there's like an extra, it will be taken by a specific person.
There's 2 cuts. You start with the wives. You start with
Okay.
the spouse. After the spouse takes their part, and then you start with the second.
They
cut.
get the original percentage, and then you do the necessary.
The other,
calculations
it's
after.
both 100%. So I have
Okay.
100%. Let's say, okay, I have let's assume 8 parts, right? The
Yeah.
wife took 1 part. Now I have 7 parts left. This 7 parts is considered the new 100% where the divvy up will happen. It's not considered 8 anymore. It's considered 7 only. That's your 100%. So the cut of the wife is taken, and then the kids and the parents take the cut at the same time. You don't put them all together.
Someone came here who's like, believing in all the hadith. Would he say the Quran is sufficient in that explanation, or would like someone who believes in the hadith would say the Quran is not sufficient in this explanation?
Yeah, but that's kufr. That's
Yeah.
ingratitude towards what God has sent you. God is telling you that this is sufficient and complete, and that's all you need. They're saying no, it isn't. So, like, who's right? Is God right or they right? But, okay, let's assume that what they're saying is true. But when we look at their material, it's completely inconsistent. It's not consistent with the Quran. That's the point that I was trying to prove to him. I have so many where they have these things that they consider sahih, which is super contradictory to what the Quran says. So there's no way that the Prophet's going to give you an explanation that's against what the Quran is saying. I don't need your apologists. I don't need your sheikhs. I don't need your scholars to a clear Arabic book. That's the simple truth.
Okay, I understand. That was a good explanation. And then, second question. I seen a video you were making about this Daniel Hachichichu guy, whatever his name is,
Mhm.
and you like alluded. It seemed like you were alluding to the fact that you think Muhammad Ali, like the boxer, was the type of messenger. Like, correct me if I'm wrong.
True. Right. So we have people who are disciples of the messengers. Messengership did not stop. He's not a messenger of God at this point. He is not delegated by God to send a message to somebody, but he is there as a messenger in the art that he is performing. So God says for every community, a messenger. So there's always been somebody who's dominating a field that tends to talk about God often, a lot. Like he's always mentioning God and bringing back people to the religion of God. Not these concepts and cults that they're making. But I do believe messengership is still ongoing. God still sends messengers before a nation is broken. What?
Would it be fair to say your definition of a messenger is someone who's speaking about the message and he has like a large platform?
There's a disciples of the messenger, which is what you explained. So they are following the path of the messenger. But there's people that I believe that are handpicked by God. They are given an event which makes them into a messenger, but they're not a prophet because they do not get a book.
Okay, so when it comes to a messenger, do you think he needs to be like sinless, or because like this guy has committed major sins? That's the problem.
No. They don't. They're not sinless. In fact, they will be answering for their sins. There's no man that walked, I believe, is sinless. Maybe the closest is Jesus, but I because there's a dua is where the mother of Mary said that to protect her, Mary, and her seed from the accursed devil. But then you have the nafs, but I don't know. I can't sit here and say that I know this is what Jesus committed that's incorrect. But we have incorrect things that the prophet did, which he fixed. We have David repenting. We have many stories where the person made an error. Jonah, when he was in the whale, he left when he shouldn't have left. So errors are these are technically like some sins, but God is extremely forgiving and merciful. These people that come, they will stand for the incorrect things that they did, but they will also witness against the people that they were saying the truth that they found from God.
Okay. Can I ask you more questions, or you have more people?
I have more people. So, but if you want to ask one more question, I won't tell you no.
No, it's okay. But I wish, like, how often do you go live?
Okay, so I go live usually every Friday for like a sermon, and then whenever time permits. So I'm trying to get back to a set schedule. I used to have like 9 hour streams, 8 hour streams for people to come debate me, but I haven't been able to host these. I'm right now, like I try to fix some issues around the world, so I travel a lot.
Yeah, I know you're in Uganda right now. So, but like, do you think, like, when do you think you'll get back to like a schedule where like consistently you'll be doing these large live streams where you answer people's questions?
Yes, these I do on Fridays. Fridays I do answer questions after my sermon. Thank you, Brother Gambit. I appreciate you saying that, because I know me and you have a history and we talked a lot on certain individual platforms. So thank you for actually coming by, man. I never had anything against you. I actually appreciate you. God bless you, Gambit.
Okay. Anyways, brother, yeah, I'll just I'm gonna get some more questions for you, and then I'll talk to you on another live, inshallah.
Inshallah, yo. Thank you, man.
And
Take care. Salam. It's my good brother Hussein.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How you doing, man?
I'm well, Muhammad. How are you going?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I've
So
still
I
yet
only
to receive.
no,
I have yet to
all
receive.
good. Some
from,
people, yes.
Mm.
COVID things. So yeah,
Mm.
inshallah, you'll hear something soon. I only tuned in when the Q&A started, so I missed the first bit, and I just took down some dot points. I was surprised in the comments they were saying that he said hadith abrogated the Quran. Was that actually something that he said?
That's Sunnism. Sunnism, they have many hadiths that abrogate the Quran. So, for example, God says, فَالْوَصِيَّةُ لِلْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ. The will is to the parents and to the relatives to write a will. You can write a will to your parents. But there's a hadith saying there is no will to the parents or to the inheritors. So it abrogates the Quran.
Okay, so but did he say like the sentence hadith abrogates Quran? Is that?
100%.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. He said another point. He said, oh, that's circular reasoning.
Yeah, using
So
God's book. They want proof from outside. If the proof is outside of God's book, this is sufficient. If someone else said it, but if God says it, it's circular reasoning. Their books prove God.
So we're all Muslims. We all believe that the Quran is revelation, and you're not allowed to use that for an argument to establish something, because that's circular reasoning. That's utterly ridiculous.
It's kufr.
That's stupid. Like it doesn't even make sense. You're not having a debate with a non-Muslim atheist that won't accept an answer from the Quran. It doesn't make any sense.
In the debate, I told him this. I gave him a warning. I was like, brother, I'm warning you. If you're a Muslim, you claim to be a Muslim, if you're going to sit here and doubt the preservation of the Quran, this is going to get you in trouble. This is not how you're going to prove your hadith, that trying to prove that the Quran is not preserved, because it's a miracle. The hadith books is not preserved like the Quran. That's a known fact. So they have all these weak, strong, authentic, good classifications for hadith, which is not for the Quran. So obviously it's not been passed down the same way.
And yeah, and look, I'm not bringing up these points. You know, if he's watching or someone else is watching that disagrees, I'm not bringing up these
No,
points.
I'm not going to let
I'm
anyone
just,
disrespect him.
I'm just saying, like, the reasoning, the logic is just not there.
Right.
He said, if all hadith book, you know, he got asked the question, if all hadith books didn't exist and you only had the Quran, would you be lost? And he responded with yes. Like, how can you say you would be lost? Like, that's.
But I tell you this: if you said to them the Quran was not around and you had all your hadith books, is that sufficient? They will tell you it's sufficient.
That
Because
is
we
the
will have what
alternative.
we need to do. But he's gonna say it's not possible because you have to recite the Quran. To them, it's the parroting.
Yeah. I mean, just to say, you would imagine you just have the Quran and you're saying, oh, I'm lost. You know, I've got all this guidance in this book. You know, God says, but I'm lost. Like,
But
come on, bro.
But my brother Mahdi asked an important question, and then he says, "Oh no! I bring up the hadith and I bring up the Quran, but nobody's going around giving free copies of hadith. Like everyone's
Yeah.
giving free copies of the Quran, and that's what's turning most of the people into the religion is when they read the Quran. Nobody reads 9 books of Bukhari and goes, "Wow, this is the truth for my Lord."
Yeah, actually, you're right, and a lot of people that do read the stuff that is in there get turned away from the religion, you know, and so it's other people that have to, if they are fortunate enough to find people that does explain the ridiculousness and how it's not authentic, then they do come back to the religion, you know.
It's a very shocking thing to them. That's the problem. They get shocked when they hear it. Like, what do you mean? Like this stuff that you're telling me that I've studied and read and I follow, you're telling me that this is incorrect? Like one of the guy that came like 1 billion people pray the way they pray, and you're telling us now that it's wrong? And he gets really offended. It's this offense that they're wrong, that they don't agree. But if you follow the majority of the world, they will lead you astray. It's one verse that could have been said. But the other thing is, like, they have the same issues with the Christians. They worship one man, they celebrity worship one person, and then they think just because they have these sheer numbers that they're correct. There's 2 billion Christians in the world. Does that mean Jesus is the Son of God now?
And I mean, what you just said is a valid, like, you can just ask yourself that question in your own head, you know, you come to the same conclusion. Like, it doesn't make any sense to get offended that there's 1 billion people, you know, doing X thing. Could they all be wrong?
I just honestly don't think they've took the time to read the Quran, because they say that they need explanations. I don't sit and read the Quran and be like, hey man, I have no idea what was just said. Like, you just read it and it's understandable. This is where it's like but then you start talking about the Quran to them and it's like they've never heard these verses, which proves again they've never sat down and just read it like a book. They've recited it as a song and dance. They've parroted it the way that they had to in school. But to sit and just read it like a book, like, when's the last time people just sat and read the book? I do that every morning. I just read it, and then you don't need this other weird stuff that they keep bringing up.
Yeah, I got another dot point. All right, he was mocking you, saying Allah didn't preserve every harakat and every dot.
Yeah,
and he was sort of acting like every harakat and dot was preserved. But what about the earliest manuscripts that are totally blank of harakats and dots?
That's what I was going to ask him if I was going to turn.
This is what we rely on as preservation, you know, to non-Muslims, to say, hey, look, you know, the words are exactly the same as like modern day Quran, and you got something that was written, some people say, during the lifetime of the Prophet, but there's no harakats or dots. So that's within his own argument to non-Muslims, he's refuting himself.
That's why he did a few times in the debate. He would present an idea, and then when he's answering my question, he answers his own question. Like, it was so surreal. Like, he did it a few times. I'm trying to remember. It's like we're talking about the sister of Aaron. So it's like the Prophet's explanation on why Maryam was called the sister of Aaron. And then I asked him about why is the people are like he's called and to them their brother Lot. Why is Lot their brother? And he goes, oh, in Arabic language, you can refer to the people by his people as a brother. I'm like, okay, so what would it be a sister? So you didn't need the prophet to tell you this because the Arabic told you this, and he crashed. Like he did that a few times. Like when he answers my question, he answered his own question, so we didn't need your nonsense.
Yep. And I wrote one down. One last final dot point. He was laughing at you like when you were reciting the Quran, and then when you pulled him up on it, he said no. I was laughing because you were making exegesis. Well, no, you were just reciting the verse, and there was no exegesis. There was no additional explanation. You were just saying what the Quran was saying and it was a response to what he was making a claim for. So there's
they
no.
Don't find the Quran sufficient.
But it's not even like an honesty just to maybe think for a few seconds or consider what you're saying. It is just what that showed to me, you know. Not just think, oh, could that mean that, you know? It's just it just instantly, oh, it doesn't mean what I believe it is, and he's making exegesis. Just all these assumptions come in, and it's just ridiculous.
I've learned what they do. They try to pull you into their narrations and into their history, which is extremely difficult to grasp because of all the cherry picking and all the ins and outs that they have. So they always try to move away from the Quran. What you need to do is keep pulling them into the verses of the Quran and try to like explain to them. But what happens is every time they ask a question about the Quran, they're expecting you to not be able to answer, as my brother Distorted was saying. They just assume that you won't be able to answer the questions. So, but when they pull me down into their narrations, they're done, because there's absolutely no way for anybody of their caliber to sit and know that what their whole books have written. So I've got all these like small things that they know is what they say, but they've never actually looked into it. And then when you try to pin it against the Quran, it fails. So, but they have to reject the Quran at this point. So, and then they come up with their own exegesis just because of the cognitive dissonance. Right now, because someone's talking about the Quran and he's really pressing about it, I have to answer him. So he gives you an explanation, and I go, okay, prove it from your own books, because there's nobody from your scholars says what you just said, that the angels were shielding the prophet when he was in the cave. That's a lie you made. That's an exegesis you did.
Yeah. And yeah, no, look, they're the only dot points I had based on that conversation. You know, I think I just wanted to. I'm sure there was things that have occurred earlier within the debate that that people also picked up on, but it's not a bashing or anything. I just wanted to demonstrate. I believe that like things that we just discussed are obvious inconsistencies. Like you wouldn't. You just sound ridiculous, saying that, and that's all I want to say, bro.
Thank God it went the way that it. Like obviously, we always wish to do better, but I think it went pretty positive. He got caught a few times, and you could see at the end of the second round, I feel like he was a little more defeated. He looked defeated because there was a few questions where when he was thrown to him, he fumbled, and because of his fumbling, I would go back. It was a weird game of chess that I usually play. I have, thank God, my God showed me a few strategies with them because of having to hear from them so much that it's easy to break them. You just put them in a system crash. and honestly, I have not pulled the heavy cards. There's much heavier things from the Seerah compared to what the Quran says, where if you pull these cards out, they just have to lie.
I believe that. Honestly, I believe that just from and no worries. I don't want to run. I could go on, but I'll leave it to Muhammad.
Thank you, brother.
No
yeah. God bless you. Hey, and I still want to talk to our good buddy there.
Inshallah.
God bless you.
I'll try and make it happen. You too. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. I got you right away.
Yes. I was actually searching for I think you removed it, the last post debate thing. Hey, I didn't get to see me again. Come on, why would you delete it?
The post debate is still there
No, I cannot
on the
see
other
it
one.
on your channel.
It's at the very end because I didn't stop the stream. The stream just kept going.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
I should-
Anyway, doesn't matter. Look, first of all, I wanted to ask you how you are.
Alhamdulillah.
That's
Alhamdulillah, I'm all right.
the most important thing. And the other guy, was it Hussein, his name? Before, just now? Don't search for the video now. It doesn't matter.
I am. You're right. I can't find it.
Yeah, I know. Look at you now. You are not. You have to find it now. Stop. Don't do that. Look, listen. He mentioned this one thing, and El Yemeni mentioned that. I told you once, maybe you remember, that I've watched all videos of all these guys. I know it sounds exaggerated maybe or weird, but it's true. I mean, there's this guy, Yusuf in Stratford, another guy, all the Dawa guys in the speaker's corner, every one of them, all their debates, everything I have watched. And El Yemeni specifically is very interesting. I don't know about him. His family is actually Hanafi. He talked about that himself in a video, and he said when he told his mother that he became Hanbali, that's why he's like that now. And his mother was a bit, why would you do that? Yeah, he said that in a video, in a stream. And his mother was shocked, of course, because, but you can see progressively how he now will get more aggressive. Let's keep it at that. I don't want to say, because in another stream, he did something. Someone mentioned that in the chat, you didn't get it maybe, that in another stream, he actually threatened someone. I don't want to repeat this because of YouTube, but it doesn't matter. The point is, this is what it does to you, this thing, when you get into this extreme, let's call it Sunni, Salafi, direction. It's very hard to come out of that, for him especially. And you saw this one, the other guy mentioned this when he kept asking you, and many guys asked you this, if you remember, about the Quran and the content of itself. And he said this is circular reasoning. Do you know that? This is the argument people use for the Bible. You have this nice graphic where it says Bible is from God because God says it is from in the Bible, and that's in the Bible. You understand? That's the circular reasoning. So Quran is from God because Quran says so, that it is from God. I think a few of them asked you this. I mean, through this argument at you. I don't know if you remember. It's not just him.
No, I
there
know.
were a few. And you told them exactly this, because of the content, but they kept hearkening, but how do you know? Because just the content says. No, it's not because it's not because the content says this book is from God, therefore it is from God. No, it's the content. Read the book.
Right.
I mean, read the book if you truly read it. I mean, look, I told you, as an astronomer, forget everything else. If I didn't know anything about Arabic or whatever, or grammatical rules or mathematics, or all of that, you know what I'm talking about. That's all in the Quran. But let's forget all that. From astronomy alone, I can see that the Quran is from God. Just from that. As an astronomer, I see many things many people don't see, lay people don't see in the Quran. Certain verses and so on. I'm not talking about the famous ones like Big Bang and expansion of the universe and so on. Yes, that's there, really, truly. I'm talking about some deeper things that are in the Quran that people don't notice. There's a verse, for example, maybe you know it, where God says he created darknesses and light. Do you know the verse? He doesn't say he created the darkness and the light. He says darknesses and the light. Yes. So it's, and we know, as an astronomer, I can tell you what does he mean by that. We know now, of course, no one thought about it 200 years ago because they didn't have an idea. Okay, darkness is spiritual
Are
darkness.
you sure it's not in the Prophetics Explanations book, that the ones that he was debating about today?
Oh, it must be. No, but that's an example. So when you tell them, it's from the content, and that's why I wrote, but you didn't see I wrote to you, I added you, and I said the time allotted for answers is too short. Because you cannot really expound on something like that in, what was it, 1 minute for the answer?
But I had 30, like one person had a minute and the other person had 30
seconds. Yeah, but you can't, it's like, come on, why? I always said about this kind of debates, I don't like such debates, and I will keep saying that. You know what debates are good, of course, if people can behave, when you freely engage with each other. You understand?
I like that kind of debate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because
this, okay, but, done, okay, time, okay, time. Oh, come on. It's like, and this is one example. When you said content, and then he said, okay, no. You have no time to explain what you mean. What I just said, just taking. There are so many things in the Quran that if you read it and if you have some knowledge, a little bit scientific knowledge, a little bit, you don't have to be an expert on some field. Just to have school knowledge, you would definitely ultimately conclude that it must be from God. It cannot be from a man. It's just that simple. And he does it as he doesn't know, but he knows what you mean. Trust me, I know he knows, because I know how they speak. I know them when they do their debates. I have learned all their points from memory, basically, how they debates the other guys in the speaker's corner and so on. So.
Yeah, it's the same rinse and repeat, but they just never had their questions fully answered. That's why they have a tough time. But what you said is incredibly, very, very good and very accurate, in my opinion. If you have any form of education, like some good knowledge of a certain field, the Quran just shines. So in my case, I was just naturally like a computer programmer. So like Boolean logic makes a lot of sense to me. So exactly. So when I approach the Quran, I approach it in Boolean logic, like kafir, mu'min. This is the two sadiq, kadhib, like honest, liar. So God is very binary in the Quran, and of course there's the scale on which one you're closer to. But if you approach the Quran in that way, you get a system. But the system is never self-imploding, nor does it contradict itself.
Yeah.
And to make a system as precise as it's presented in the Quran, no human can do that.
Exactly. And I mean, they should know that, and they know that. Trust me, they know that. They know that. They know your argument. They know that what you said is true. But if he were to now admit that and say yes, then that's it. Then
it's game over.
Yes. But that's why they then keep harking on other things. But then how do you know that you have the Quran? It's the same people who brought the Hadith that brought the Quran.
Right. How do you know the Quran that you have today is the same one from the Prophet?
Yeah.
Well, because it's not telling me to kill black dogs. It's not telling me to not eat frogs.
Yes.
You know? It's not telling me that if I wear red.
Why black dog? What's with the black? Come on, what?
That's from the Persians.
But that's
crows,
so specific.
And black dogs.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know that.
Zoroastrians. Zoroastrians hate black dogs. They hate crows and they hate snakes.
What the?
Farce.
Yeah, but it's very weird. I mean, I know his debate style. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you watched his debates.
No, I don't. I don't watch. I can't like, even my own debates, I can't stand watching them for more than 10 minutes because of the opponent.
Yeah, but I watched their debates, all of them, as I told you, Really.
I believe you. I believe you. You're pulling
I
things
watched
up
them
that
for years now. That's like, oh, some of them are many, many years ago when they started in the Speaker's Corner and stuff like that. And all of them, I know every single argument that they talk, how will they say it, which verses they will use, and so on. It's always the same. But the problem is, as I said, with
they have difficulties with me, don't they? Like I know a lot of Quran alone people or people who adhere to Quran, they're just not confident with what the Quran says when they go challenge them and they get hurt. But I think with me, I really give them a run for their money.
yes, but then I wrote to you, so you know what I wrote in Telegram. So, but that they abused that, and he kept doing that. He said, "Oh, look, oh," and so on. You understand? Because then he will now go and say, "See, they cannot discuss, they cannot debate in a civil manner. They keep interrupting, they keep this, and they blah blah blah. They have no knowledge about hadith. They expect you, of course, to be an expert on hadith to talk about. You understand? They expect me to be an expert, for example, on a fictional book in order to speak about science. That's basically what they are saying. Right. They expect me to be an expert in science fiction to talk about science. No, science is exact. That's the other thing is science fiction. So why would you be like, you have to first go to Medina and study all of hadith sciences and then you can speak about that. We don't have to. If something is clearly in contradiction to the book of God, I don't have to study the whole field. Only one. You know this example? If I gave you a cup of water and I said, oh, it's just one drop of pee in it, would you drink it?
No.
You understand? So if I encounter one hadith, one single one that is clearly contradictory to the Quran, that's it. I cannot trust any of them. Right. Of course, some could be true. No one is saying, oh, this hadith might be true, this hadith might be true. This is really what Muhammad said. Of course. I'm not saying he didn't say maybe that. But how can I know? How can I be sure? This thing will be my mind. How am I going to base my
religion?
Yes. And that's what I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to. I don't know if you have other people don't want to take your time.
I have one. Actually no. There's a few people, but it's okay.
No. I just wanted to see you and say how you're doing. I don't want to ask you about the whole thing in Uganda. Oh God, I just read some parts, but I didn't quite catch what exactly.
The guy's a thief, but we found a new place. We found a better place, much like an actual orphanage. And we've started helping them. They have about 300 kids, 250 of which are orphans, 200 to 250. And it's here. Unfortunately, orphans is a trade, so it's a cash cow to a lot of people. But this gentleman, he, like you see him, his clothes, the guy that runs it, his clothes has holes in it. He's wearing ladies' slipper. His watch is very cheap. He doesn't have a smartphone, so the money that comes to him is going to the children. So inshallah khair. At the end of the day, I'm trying. So
yes. Anyway, I'll go and let you other people. Let's see what do they have to say. So
God bless you.
Yeah, I will kick myself out.
No, you could leave nicely. God bless you. I'm just gonna put the link for anybody who wants to keep donating towards these children. I am going to update the pictures, update the information, but it's still the same link. I just posted it. Ali Khan, I'm going to add you now. You're welcome. What's up, Ali?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yo, I've been waiting a lot. I've been waiting a lot of time for this conversation with you. I'm basically from Pakistan. Can you, understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes. So I think you said that you've been waiting a while to get to talk to me, and you're from Pakistan.
Yeah. because recently I've been like discovering your videos on YouTube. Like I've seen a lot of your videos. So basically, I know a little bit of English so that I'll be able to communicate with you and I can understand what you are saying in English. But my English is not that well. Basically, I speak Urdu because I'm from Pakistan. So, but I will be able to communicate with you in English. So my questions are as follows. Like you said, I believe like Isa alayhi salam is like dead. Like Allah gave him like completely fulfilled his life, and like I know that, and on the day of judgment that he will say like. So I know everything regarding that. I would want to ask you, like you said, about Yajuj and Majuj. My understanding on Yajuj and Majuj is like from the Quran. Basically, I my methodology of Islam, understanding Islam is from the Quran. So basically, that's the that's the only source we have that like which is like preserved. So therefore, I do it from the Quran. So on Yajuj and Majuj, I feel it's like mutashabiyat, the verses. So like you said, ke, uh, it's like the East and West wars in the future. So when Zulkarnain like built a wall, and uh, uh, so how do you know if the wall, if it's going to happen in the future? And because Zulkarnain also said when like I don't know what's written in English, but like it will happen. The wall will like it will level it to the ground. So if you're saying it will happen in the future, so how do you know like if it's going to happen in the future?
Okay, so my personal interpretation, again,
Yeah.
because these are prophetic, these are not muhakkamat. As you said, there is
I
ambiguity.
said no. I said it's mutashabih in the beginning.
Mutashabihat.
In the,
So okay,
yeah,
so
exactly.
let me answer the question. Give me a second. So
Yeah.
God says in chapter 21 that it is forbidden for a country that God has destroyed for it to come back until Gog and Magog are open,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
So a
we don't
nation,
exactly know when
country is
will it
used
happen.
here. So, for example, now what we see is a lot of countries, like in Egypt, they like to
How do you
decorate themselves with the pharaohs. You go to
how do you
Turkey, they have a lot of Hittite stuff that they're bringing back from the dead.
Mhm.
You go to Kosovo or Albania, they have their like gods that God destroyed that they're putting back. The Romans and their gods are slowly coming back in people's decorations. It's not people worshiping them, but they're making sort of a comeback. Now, even in like Saudi Arabia, some people are saying like their female deities is showing how the Saudis used to appreciate women, and they're putting their stones back in museums instead of destroying them. So you could clearly see that those nations that God has destroyed, they're coming back. So yeah, Juju
no
Ma'juj is open. Now,
no.
what we know,
I'll stop you here. I'll stop you here because tell you, you're just describing this and it's like not in the Quran. You're just saying this
this
like.
is my observation. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that this
exactly.
is what
That's
it
your
means.
observation now. So I'm telling you, it's not in the Quran. In the Quran, I believe Yajuj and Majuj is a reality. Like we both agree on this. Like it's a reality. Say so. The point I'm trying to convey here is like, it's a reality, but it's very ambiguous. Like not
Right.
clear described in the Quran. So we can make a full, clear
But this
statement
is
on
why
that.
Ali.
Yeah, so that's why it's
Let's
mutashabih.
settle it now. Let's settle it now. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
make videos talking about Ya'juj and Ma'juj because of this.
exactly.
You came and asked for my opinion now. I cannot give you
Mm,
fact because neither of us knows the fact. So I'm giving you
exactly.
my opinion.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to give you my understanding, because as you are approaching the religion, I'm also doing it the same way. We both have the same approach on it. But I just wanted to let you know that here you had some. Here I just want to like, you're a brother of mine, and like I just felt I would want to share you my understanding on this uh, subject.
Okay, but Ali,
Yeah,
is it okay if I take your email and we do, because this is a very deep conversation. It's
definitely,
not
man.
something that can be
Like
done in 5 minutes.
I listened to a good scholar. Also, he's also from Pakistan, Javed Ahmed Ghamdi Saab. He's a really good scholar. So I recommend you to listen to some of his lectures on YouTube. Some of his other team members have
What's his
done
name?
it. Javed Ahmed Ghamdi.
Can
But
you
but
write it in
but
a private chat?
yeah. But some of his team members have also, translated his work in English, so that way it will be much easier for you to, know what are his views on, uh, these topics, because he's a brilliant scholar from Pakistan. And
Okay.
people went against him. What happens in the society, like people just start going against you. So these kind of things just happen. We just have to, resist. So I'll just
All
give
right,
you
bro.
the name. I'll just
Yeah,
give
yeah.
you the
Send me the link, and I will definitely take a look at it. Okay. I do have
yeah.
other people in the crowd in the bottom that wants to also ask questions.
Sure. And you said that I can, get your email so that, we can
Yep.
talk some other
So
time.
my email's right here. I put it in the chat for you and whoever else that wants to send me an email.
All
Okay,
right.
brother Ali.
Thank you so much. All right.
God
Take
bless you.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Salam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Mm,
I'll leave now. All right. Thank you.
okay.
Bye.
Peace. Emma Lurioni. Hello? Emma, are you there? You're muted.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Oh man, how you doing? Sorry about that technical difficulty.
Hi.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I can hear myself.
Hi. I believe it fits now.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, so what's up?
Hello.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so what's up?
Well, I saw the debate, man. It was tough. I'm a recent rival from Argentina. It's been hard.
It's very difficult to hear you. Sorry, the mic is really low.
It's still bad.
Okay, yeah, I can't hear you. It's very low.
All right, move on. I'll try again some other time then.
I apologize, Emma.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Well, ask your question because maybe it'll work now.
Mostly the question was, how do you deal with it? I mean, it's the same thing over and over, and I was thinking maybe you should spend more time with people that already get it.
I agree your sentiment. This is why I spend my offline time, like offline the internet, doing things where I do find it beneficial to my hereafter. But I keep doing this, and it seems like it's over and over because every time I do make a presentation, and sometimes it sounds redundant, I will still get a message saying, "Thank you. This is the first time I'm hearing this stuff," or "Thank you. I've been watching you for a while. This really helped me." So it's like, it seems like people don't watch my old stuff. People don't, like, very few people would actually sit and go through my old shorts or my old videos. They're just seeing what's relevant now. I like, very rarely I would go and watch someone else's videos. So you have to be redundant. I think it works. But for the people who've been through it for a while, yes, it becomes as a practice of patience rather than knowledge.
Right. You're right. I've been seeing you for over a year now. It feels like I've heard everything there is. But you're right. At least someone will see it for the first time, and it may change its perspective.
Correct.
You know,
I
I'm
don't
from a-
watch. I don't watch debates myself. Like, on my free time, I don't sit and watch debates. I don't sit and research what other people are saying about the Quran. I do my own thing. I just don't. I don't. I've personally had enough of it, but I do it for God. So, but I think that there's better things that we can do to call towards God, which I also do. This is just one channel, like one method. I mean,
I understand. I must say I'm thankful to you because you made it easier for me to accept Islam. I'm from Argentina. I'm a way low minority. You know, it's
God
been
bless
tough.
you, Anna.
I started well as pretty secular, then become
Mhm.
Christian, but uh, you know the Trinity. There were lots of things that it always was there on my mind that it didn't make quite sense. Then read the Quran, and it was beautiful. Then
Alhamdulillah.
got into watching content from other creators like Hasim, and
That must have
and
been
it felt
disgusting.
impossible to follow on. It's like don't wear red and all the things I'm not gonna mention it, but I thought if I follow their advice, at least things will get better. I was going through tough times, and maybe all my things was because I wasn't doing the rain dance the right way, and I perfected it, and things still never changed. And then I found you, and started thinking that maybe following strict rules wasn't the thing about getting closer to God.
How's your life now, brother?
No, it's still tough. It's still tough.
But is it easier?
A bit, yes. It's certainly easier
And
than following
and
Hasim.
there's a verse in the Quran that God says that on the day of judgment, when He brings us to heaven, we're going to say, "Praise to the Lord that removed from us the sadness." The worldly life is a tragedy. It's sad. And this is why we have the Quran to remind us that if you're going to look for your happiness, it's very short lived and you're going to have to hurt more people for you to be happy. So why don't you just sit and endure, get by, because what's coming is better. We have this notion inside us that we want to build and we want to have and we want to get things. But the smart man realizes that it's all going to be taken away, then I'm not going to exert my energy for something that I'm going to cry over. I rather exert my energy for something that will not get taken away from me. So the tough times now is because of this worldly life. But truthfully, in your mind, you should find a peace where whatever is happening outside doesn't affect you inside.
Kind words. I do my best indeed, but I also wish that
Yes.
in the meantime it it will get better.
It will. إنما العسر يسرا. With hardship comes ease, but you have to be patient. There's a verse in the Quran as well, like when hardship comes, like when God is testing us, we say, "To God we belong, and to God we will return." And we
Certainly.
say that, and then at that point, God He helps you, and He showers you with mercy. So inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
Oh, I absolutely can't understand Arabic. So other than the most usual things and best things. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah.
talking about the
Okay.
debate itself and
Thank you, man.
what I said earlier. Keep doing, but consider spending more time with who already understands you.
Yes, sir. Inshallah.
So,
God willing. Peace. Salam.
assalamu alaikum. It's the first time I
Walaikum
actually say that to someone.
Peace be upon you, my friend.
Thank you.
So I have my brother Muhammad Rizal saying all of the mushriks, you had conversations every time you make a statement answer, they never want to hear the reason. They're dumb and blind. That's what God says. They're blind. في آذانهم وقر. There's wax in their ears. They just cannot simply hear it. They cannot comprehend it. Brother Emma, I'm sorry. Do you want, is it okay if I remove you or I usually don't.
Oh yes, I thought that. Oh, you already changed it.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't. The pizza here is not the pizza I'm used to, bro. Shirloni.
Yes, yes.
You got a good.
See you
You
next
got a
time.
message here, Emma. What a beautiful soul. This is what our brother Bilo said.
Thank you, Bilal.
He was at one point, but I kind of seen through it. I did maybe be harsh when it came down to correcting things in the Quran. When he was saying lies about the Quran, yeah, I let my little harshness take over. Top Cosmic is saying, "Bless your soul, brother." This is for you, Emma. Okay, bro. Hope you have a good night. And, hopefully we talk soon. Salam.
I'm still here.
Alejandro.
Assalamu alaikum. You hear me, brother?
Peace be upon you. Alaikum salam. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, Habibi. Sorry, my English is not that good. I'm from Spain. Yeah, from Barcelona. Then maybe my
All right.
accent is not the best. Yes, yes.
No, you're okay. You're doing good.
Okay. I have a question, yeah? Because when I started with Islam, alhamdulillah, years ago, I always had a question when I talked with non-believers or people that reject Islam at all. They always point me something and it hurts my heart and it comes from the hadith, And I want
Yep.
you to see your view, yeah? Because people say that we need to follow the sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, yeah? In everything that he does. But there is something that every man will reject. Bad people, you will see that they defend it with their lives. And it's the age of the marriage with Aisha,
Can I show you something? Yeah, so
Yes,
it's
please.
complete lie. It's a complete lie. It's not true.
Right.
The Quran does not support it. There's even hadith
Right.
showing that she's 18, 16 mathematically from a few people. Like, for example, she has an older sister. Her name is Asma. Asma,
Right.
she migrated to Medina when she was 27. They've recorded that there's 10 years difference. And Aisha got married in Medina, so she had to be 17, 18 minimum. And the guy that said that she was 6 and then got consummated when she was 19, they even said that he had a problem. Like the hadith people will tell you, he had a problem with numbers. So he didn't, because he was an old man, he didn't mean 6 and 9. He meant 16 and 19. But they for some reason they love to say all these lies. But brother, I did make a short about this. If you want to, is it okay if I share it with you really quick?
Of course, with pleasure.
All right. So this is one of my shorts about this specific topic because they keep bringing it up, but they have no idea what they're saying. So let me just share the screen. And I think the
Thank
people
you.
that know me know exactly what I'm about to put. Share screens. I think it's this one. Yes, it is this. So this is a short. It's called "Don't Touch the Kids." Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
married Aisha at 6 and he consummated marriage at 9. I have zero problem with that at all. It's another Sunni with a microphone.
Pedo, not wrong. Niqab, no. What a hoe. House blues, hell no. Oh, dear no. Pedo, not wrong. Niqab, no. what a hoe. Gospel, hell no. Hadith though, they low. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids. It's another scene with a microphone. Pedo, don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids. Pedo, don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids, yeah, pedo.
I believe
Bro, they're gonna hate you for this.
Well, they
Hilarious.
already hate me, bro. They
Yes.
already hate me.
Well,
They
I can
already
share my
hate me.
point of view, like how this came to my mind, yeah, because I started investigating all that. And first of all, according to the narrations that I don't believe to 100%, because I don't know how they. Okay, the Prophet was married to Khadija, yeah, peace be upon her, at 25, and she was 40 already. Like, if I put myself as a man, yeah, I'm 30 years old, by the way. He married at 25 with an excellent businesswoman, older than him. She had experience in life, and he was married to her, peace be upon him, till, if I'm not wrong, till 50 years old. At 50 years old, he married Aisha, according to the Hadith, at 9. How can a military leader, like someone like a mercy for the wars, someone, the best human being, let's say, or one of the best human beings that existed since Adam, can do something like that? And these people like you, Ali Dawa and all these people, yeah, they will defend that. But after they will say to you, no, but you need to follow the Sunnah. And I can ask them, okay, give me your daughter of 9 years old and let me marry her. And they will beat me up because their heart reject that. But you will see them defending it against people that hate Islam and stuff. And
Right.
like you
It's
said,
crazy.
this hadith was created by the enemies of Allah to disturb the religion. This is what I think. And that's why I wanted to come to your stream and ask your view about this.
Yeah, there's a very good piece that I believe someone from Oxford University. His name is Joshua Little. Maybe he's obviously a person who is in Western academia that studied these hadith, and he shows that it was a sign of prestige for like the rich people, kind of like buying a Rolex to marry a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old. So they attributed it to both Ali and they attributed it to Prophet Muhammad so that they could keep the tradition going because they wanted to keep doing it. So they said the Prophet did it.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, that's all. I wanted only to see your view in that point, because always when I talk with someone that hates Islam or is not or is against Islam, they will bring you this type of hadiths. And I really think it was created against the Prophet and Allah, you know, to make a fitna and make people go. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, all the people that come and start to talk bad about the Prophet or the Islam, it's always hadith. Very rarely do they bring a Quran verse, and if they bring a Quran verse, they usually don't interpret it right.
Right. Well, that's all, brother. I have more questions though, according to hadiths and stuff. But maybe I will. It's better to let someone else that has more questions than me. But this was my main one.
But please, like, do show up again if you do have questions. There is like maybe 6 or 7 people in the back channel, so I want to go.
Of course,
answer as many questions before I have to go.
Thank you, brother, for your time. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Keep doing your thing, you know, because I know that you're trolling around sometimes to make things like funny, and but your heart is good and you do it for Allah. You know, you don't gain nothing. You don't gain much or nothing with all this. Then keep doing it, man, and Allah knows your intention. You know.
Alhamdulillah, I don't make money off this. There's not money, but there is wisdom behind why I do it the way that I do it, because unfortunately in this day and age, if you make a lecture, people don't listen. But if they get entertained, then they listen.
Of course, right. Jazakallah khairan, brother. Thank you. I leave you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Okay, Abdullah, what's going on?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you very well, subhanAllah.
Okay. I wanted to ask a few questions, mostly Quran related. At the moment, I'm like somewhere between, I would say I'm somewhere between Shia and I guess what people would call a Quranist. It's like somewhere in the middle there. I appreciate the sort of the belief of only the Quran can make sort of the rulings, and that's the ultimate thing that we need to judge and things like that. But I do sort of appreciate some of the sentiments that I guess my family follow and things like that. But I do believe that it should be sort of I do think that Allah was intending for us to only follow the Quran. But I do have some things that I sort of, maybe I'm just not reading enough, maybe I'm not sort of researching enough, but whenever I speak to people who are thinking of converting to Islam, I tend to always lose the attention of the women who are trying to convert, because they always have problems with some specific verses that I'm not really too sure how to explain from a Quranic only perspective, which is usually the verses to do with hitting your wife, or the sort of the mulk al-yamin and things like that, and even the verse related to sort of women needing two witnesses in finance, as opposed to when it comes to financial sort of deals and things like that, as opposed to men. So I just don't know to look at them from a Quran only perspective.
So we have a different interpretation to most of these verses, except the one about the witnesses. This is a different thing. So when it comes down to hitting women, the word فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ does not necessitate for it to be hit. أَفَنَضْرِبُ عَنْكُمْ صَفْحًا. So should we strike away from you a page? وَيَضْرِبُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. So they strike in the land. فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ here is not telling you to hit them. It's telling you to cast them away, strike them away. So here's the proof. They say that first you're supposed to to admonish them, to talk to them. Step one.
Yeah.
Step two is to forsake them in bed. And then step three is to strike them. But if you look at the Arabic, it's not saying thumma, it's saying wa, it's saying and. So it's saying admonish them and forsake them in bed, and at this point they're saying hit them. No, it's saying to strike them away, like make them go into the land. So that means like kick them out, for example, to their parents' house. And literally the next verse, God is saying that, and if you're fearing that there's going to be a disconnect between them, then bring a referee to try to bring them back together. So this verse is the ambiguous verse. And the verse starts, وَالرِّجَالُ قَوَّامِينَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ بِمَا أَنفَقُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. So it's like the men have a degree over women in what they have spent on them. If a woman is spending on me, I don't have that degree anymore, because she's the one feeding me. She's the one taking care of the household. So it's not just clear cut that every man is over every woman. And in regards to these two testimonies, God says in regards to the debt, one man and two women, lest one forgets, the other one reminds her. So these debts are these are usually long-term debts. Like it's assumed for someone who's taking a debt for a long time. Back then, the witnesses would witness, and then they go maybe 5-10 years, they may be called again. God is saying that lest if one of them forgets, because if you look, women are more likely to lose their memory before men, especially when they hit menopause.
Right. Okay.
So it's a memory issue. It's not an intellectual issue. Nowhere does God say that women are dumber or less intellectually capable than men. It's a memory issue here.
Yeah, because I've had like other people explain that verse, saying things like I'm from Iraq, and when I've asked some of the people from there, and when I've asked some of the people, I now live in the UK here, they sort of tend to go to the approach of saying that, oh, that was for that time and that it doesn't apply to now. But then that sort of raises a question of, what parts of the Quran are for that time and then what parts are for now. And then like it gets really confusing when you look at it from that like perspective.
That's the abrogations. No, of course it applies to this time because it is a memory issue. That's all it is.
Yeah, so okay, well that leads in good into sort of the whole like mulk al-yamin and things like that. Now, whenever I speak to people about that topic, I never get the same answer from every person that I speak to about, and that's like one of the main things confusing me. And it's one of the main things sort of preventing some people that I know from sort of converting, because it's very. Whenever I
Okay, one
ask,
second.
yeah,
Abdullah,
yes.
what is milk al-yamin to you? What does it mean?
Milk al-Yamin, to me, as I understand it, is someone who is under your responsibility in some kind of way. The answer that confuses me is that some people have different definitions of what being under your responsibility means. Some people say it's some kind of servant or a slave. Some people say it's an orphan, things like that. So that's sort of where the confusion comes from. Like, does it clarify very clearly exactly what Milk al-Yamin is?
It's literally in the name. Al-yamin here, it's not right hand.
Okay,
It's your oath. Halafa yamin.
right.
Yeah, because sometimes mulk al-yamin, mulk al-ayman as well. So it's what your oath is holding. So if I took an oath from somebody that they're going to clean my house, and in return I'm going to give them a place to sleep and money, right?
Yeah.
I am post paying for their services. So there is an agreement between us. It does not make that person my slave. It means that they're my employee. There's 3 types of milk al-yamin, which is talked about in the Quran. Business partners is a milk al-yamin. It's an oath.
Okay.
هل لكم من شركائكم, right? God talks about it, and he's مما ملكت أيمانكم. So partners in what you have oaths between them, right? And then there's another verse when it comes down to the marriage now, the concubines.
Yeah,
Either a
yeah.
concubine or someone to marry where you can't marry a free woman. So someone who is still trying to make it through the world. God says to marry them. You can't just have sex with them. And you have to have the permission of their parents. You have to have a marriage agreement, and you have to have an oath. So for you, you have to have contracts with these people. Now, before the Quran, there was the concept of slavery. Raqaba, Abdun Mamluk is what God calls them. An owned servant. Now, these people used to take care of people's houses, as you have in Iraq. You know, those little girls that they will tend to your house so that like the wife or the mother doesn't have to do all the little stuff. There's this girl that they allow her to sleep. They pay her a wage, or to her parents a wage, and she helps in the house. Khaddami, you know that, right?
Yeah, some of the more wealthy people have khaddami.
Yeah, those are mulk al-yamin. So back in the day, they had servants. They had people tending to the farms. They had people tending to the kids. They had men to help with the house chores and what needs to be done. Okay,
Yeah.
Quran says there's no more slavery. You shouldn't have slaves. But someone has to still do those jobs. God converted them into contracts, oaths,
Yeah.
right? You're going to give me a service and I'm going to give you a house. That's my promise. Your promise is you're going to take care of this job for me. Okay, you finish the job, I'm going to pay you. So you have my oath.
Okay, so when it comes to sort of marriage and concubinage and stuff, so it would be someone who is already sort of. So how would that work again? Because your voice lagged out a little bit. I don't know if it was my internet or not. But
Just
when
one
it
second. This, I'll show you exactly what I mean.
right.
For I believe 11. Is it? No, it's not 11. It's a little bit 20. Here you go. So I will share my screen for you to see the verse together. We're going to present, share screen. It's right here. Can you see this? Yes. So
Yeah.
the verse says about who you cannot marry. Okay, God's talking about your mothers, your daughters, your sisters. You can't marry them, and the other people that He mentioned. And then the married among the women, those are not you're not allowed to marry those, obviously. And
Yeah.
then He says, except those your right hand possesses. But this is clarified in a different chapter. So there's a chapter where the believing women were leaving Mecca to come to Medina, and they're leaving their disbelieving husbands. And God is saying, do not return them. But they went under the care of other people. So at this point, you have to wait for the time while they divorce their husbands that they left, and then you can marry them. But the verse that you're mentioning is the one right after it. And whoever among you cannot afford to marry chaste, believing women, then from those who your right hand possess or your oaths possess, among your young believing women, God is aware of your faith you are of each other. And here's the important part. So marry them with the permission. See how it says فَانْكِحُوهُنَّ. So marry them with the permission of their family and give them their fees in the service of chaste women, not as fornicators, nor to be taken as secret lovers. So you have to marry them. You can't just have sex with somebody that you're not married to. That's a fahisha and that's wrong.
Okay, yeah.
There's no
No,
sex slavery. Yeah, that's the Hakikatu is the crazy one.
no, I understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But yeah, no, thank you for answering that. It's just the obviously, you know, in Iraq, it's very taboo to sort of not use hadith to sort of look at whether it's Sunni or Shia hadith to kind of look at the context for these verses. And even here in the UK, it's actually what I've noticed since moving here is that they're actually significantly more extreme than in Arab countries with how they approach this thing. You know, I've asked things like this about, and even about, I know a guest before was talking about Aisha's age and things like that. Anytime I bring these things up, it's very, it's a very sort of aggressive response to these kind of things at mosques and things like that. And I don't know if it's a Western thing. I don't know what's going on out here in the West, but like even things like going to the mosque, if they see me praying a different way or something, it's always conflict. And so I don't really ask questions like that to people here anymore because it's just I don't want to risk sort of getting into an argument.
It's because of the political identity. So to them, they have a version of Salafi Islam, which they've inherited from the Saudis, that they believe that this is the identity of Muslims and you have to upkeep this identity because you're a minority. But obviously, whenever they present to you information, when you give them a verse from the Quran, they quickly crumble. So I have this issue when I go pray in the West. People always come up and give me questions. I've prayed in the UK. I've obviously debated in the UK as well. And people always had these very, very niche approach to the religion, which is extreme. Like even Saudi Arabia, the Salafi is not in the same way that these people present themselves. And, you know, in Syria, Iraq, Jordan, somewhat Lebanon, it's not nearly as crazy as it is in the UK. Like even in Saudi Arabia, they're not as harsh and like in your face about what you're doing. They just let you be. If you're going extreme in certain things, then they'll ask you, but they don't sit there and have a like an intervention where they bring 4 guys and sit down and Habibi, it's for your own good.
Yeah, so that's at least 5 times. So I've had to just look for a more sort of because they see me pray with my arms down, and they really don't like that. And so
just say Imam Malik prayed with his arms down.
Yeah, I've tried bringing up that, but it doesn't usually. The thing is, I try to. I don't really like arguing. I try to sort of just have a conversation, but sort of anytime I bring up sort of reliance on the Quran or even just the possibility that a hadith could be fake, or you know, it is people. It's transmitted by people, right? So there's always the possibility of it being fake. Just bringing up that possibility usually gets me in some kind of trouble, and I have to just leave. So yeah, it's a very like I don't know. I didn't expect it. You know, I used to live here as a kid. Went back to Iraq, came back. I didn't expect it to be this sort of. It's very. It's more extreme than I expected. But yeah, thank you for answering the questions. That definitely helps.
God bless you, bro.
Yeah, I'll leave the floor to anyone else who wants to join now. But yeah, Jazakallah, shukran, habibi, and
وإياك إن شاء الله.
Inshallah, مع السلامة.
Guys, can you believe it? Some man caught me. Why do you grow your beard? I see you don't trim your mustache. Well, you look ridiculous, by the way. But also, it's just not follow exactly what the hadith says. I'm trying to outgrow your imams so that you listen to me. I am subverting your religion with my beard. They have a monopoly on beards now. Salam. Justice is a lie. This is how. I like my beard too, bro. All right, Jake. What's up, Jake?
Hey, brother, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. What's going on?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah, brother, I'm doing well. I had a question for you that I wanted to bring up that one of the other brothers brought up in the debate that you're in. So I am a somewhat recent revert from Christianity, and a big reason for why I came to the religion because it was a God-only focused religion, and when going through this, they only brought up the Quran, right? I had no idea, but I had no idea that the Hadith even existed for for quite a long time, and all of a sudden, you revert and then you're Sunni, and I'm like, wait, what is this about? Oh, well, there's this, the Sunnah, then there's the Hadith. So I guess my question is, if Allah is eternal, which we believe that, if you go to verse 568, right, it says, we have no ground to stand on unless we observe the Torah and the gospel, right? So I was just curious why Sunnis go to the Hadith and not the gospel or the Torah.
The term "the people of the book" is specific to the people who have been given the book out before the Quran.
Okay.
So for them that they're not adhering to what the Quran is saying, they should at least adhere to what their books are saying. God is not saying that those books are completely flawed and they're abrogated and nobody should listen to them. In fact, quite the opposite. God is saying that there is the truth, there is the guidance that you will find in the Torah, the Gospel, and the books of the prophets, the ones that are from the prophets, and the Quran is superseding them in regards to that. If there is a difference between what the Quran is saying and what the parts of the Bible is saying, the Quran is going to be the judge. So I quote Jesus once in a while. I'll quote stories from the Old Testament once in a while, because I find there is lessons to it. But again, the Quran supersedes it. The people, I wanted to bring this topic up about abrogation. God says multiple times in the Quran that those Jews and Christians and Sabians and that do good and believe in God in the last day, and they do good, they have their reward with God, and there's no fear upon them, so that they get to go to heaven. But they've abrogated these verses so that no Christian and no Jews that have heard about Prophet Muhammad this day will go to heaven. But this is clearly flawed in what the Quran is saying.
Yeah, so you're talking about chapter 2, verse 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that chapter, because a lot of them say that, from their point of view, at least from what I've understood, is that it is, the Jews of the time when, the Torah was correct, or,
That's a flawed argument, because there was no Jews when Moses was around, and there was no Christians when Jesus was around. Christianity appeared after Jesus, because during the time of Jesus, they were called believers. They were not called Nasara. They were not called Christian. During the times of Moses, they were not called Jews. They were called believers. The Jewish religion came after the Torah was revealed. The Christian religion it came out after the gospel was revealed and Jesus left, and Sunnism appeared after Prophet Muhammad and the Quran appeared. So it's the same flaw.
Right. And
So obviously that verse means the people that are Jewish and Christians after the prophets and at this time now.
gotcha. So you think if you are faithful to God and
Right. And you do good, you're
right,
going to have to. So some people are, for their lies or their sins, they're getting punished here in the world because they're genuinely good people, but they could not escape their programming, their social programming. It was difficult for them to break through because of their personal abilities. I believe those people might have some events in the world because of the lies that they don't want to ponder about and break, but genuinely good people. So they get punished here so they don't get punished later. I'm talking about in regards to things as associating things to God. God says that association is not, idolatry is not forgiven, but it does not necessitate for it to be punished on a day of judgment. You can get your punishment here in the earth and you paid your dues at that point. But some people, yes, they're going to be punished on the day of judgment for the lies that they keep saying.
SubhanAllah. I wanted to ask you one more thing. So, in the Quran, a lot of Sunnis will make the argument that, it says to obey Allah and
obey the message.
right, but they say,
Right.
the Prophet. So it
But
was
that's
just
not what the verse says.
right. So I'm just kind of curious why they try to abrogate it in a way where it says Prophet verse.
Because what they've done is a problem with the Arabic language. There's a hierarchy. God is the first. Amazing. Then they put the messenger at a higher level than the prophet. When God in the Quran is saying that the prophet is a higher level than a messenger. So all prophets are messengers, but not all messengers are prophet. Now, if I'm going to follow the Sunnis and I put the messengers on top, if God seals the prophets, then he automatically sealed the messengers. But if it's reversed, if God sealed the prophets, messengers are still ongoing. So when God says obey God and obey the messenger, it's not just Prophet Muhammad. It's the messengers that came after. And this is actually very evident in chapter 5. And I will show you the verse. Give me 1 second. I think it might be, maybe it's in 7, not 5. Sorry. Yeah, it's right here. So share this tab. I'm going to show you my verse that I want, or the verse that I wanted to show you. We'll put it right here. So God says, and we have certainly brought them a book which we have detailed by knowledge as a guidance and a mercy for people who believe. So what's the book here, or a book here?
And we certainly brought them a book which we have detailed knowledge as guidance and mercy for people who believe. The Quran?
The Quran, right? And God's asking in the next verse in 753, are they waiting for its interpretation? Right? The day its interpretation comes, those who forgot it before will say, the messengers, plural, of our Lord has brought the truth. Oh man.
So they're talking about like Puhari and
No, here the messengers are the ones that are telling you the proper interpretation of the Quran. But God used the plural messengers, not a single messenger. So there's more messengers after Prophet Muhammad because God revealed the book to the Prophet. And then the people on the day of judgment, when the interpretation of the book comes, they're going to say the messengers of our Lord brought the truth. So there's messengers that came that explained the book.
Right. Okay.
That's why the guy's flawed debate doesn't make sense. Because there's many messengers that came and told them the interpretation of the book because the book is interpreting itself, but they just don't accept it. And then us, the people who technically follow the Quran alone, as I use the term, we are al-Ansar. We are the people who give victory. We are just like the disciples of Jesus, but we're disciples of Muhammad. We're disciples of the messenger. So we walk a very similar path. We say the same things that the Prophet says. When God says, say, we'll say the same thing. Obviously, it does not have to be verbatim, but we're telling them exactly what the Quran says in a way that they would understand it. That's the path of the messenger. It's not the path of the prophet. You're not going to be a prophet. And you're not going to be the messenger of God, but you're going to follow the messenger, and therefore you carry on his work.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I forget
The
which
truth is,
right. I forget which debate it was. I'm trying to think back here, but there was something you said that really triggered. I believe it was a Sunni that you were talking to, that the word of God is subjective, or I'm not exactly the way.
Yep.
Sure.
Ramsey.
Yeah. Ramsey, right? Yeah. And he didn't like that, but I think what you say is true, because how I can perceive text and how he can perceive text and how you can perceive text, it's it can all be completely different. Obviously,
But the
his
prophet
words,
is objective.
right?
Right.
Exactly. Okay. Beautiful. And I just want to say thank you, for all you've done, because honestly, when I've been on this journey of trying to discover myself and what is right and wrong, you definitely have helped a lot throughout the path. And there were a hadith verse I did want to go over as well, and I believe you did a short on it, and it was about angels will not go into a house.
That's crazy.
If you have dogs or if you have pictures in your house, which I thought was
chapter 18.
Yeah,
The
chapter
sleepers
18.
of the cave. Sleepers of the cave, chapter 18. They had a dog.
Right, and I'm pretty sure in Bukhari it also talks about dogs going into the masjid as well.
And you can use dogs as hunting animals. They can hold the meat in their mouths, and then you come cook it.
Yeah,
they soft bite.
Yeah, that is crazy to me. And I think there's another verse there too. If you have a picture in your house of I think it's an animate object, that you will have to breathe life into hellfire for eternity, which I thought was
this is nuts.
Yeah, I thought it was insane. But no, I just want to say thank you for all you've done, because you certainly have helped me a lot throughout the path, because I thought I was alone, because I thought he lived in a world of Sunnis and Shias and that's it. But it was really nice finding you, as well as Chuaib. It's really helped off. Yeah.
God bless you, brother, for your kind words, and may God increase your journey, and may God accept the best you do, and forgive and overlook any shortcomings we all have.
Thank you. Jazakallah.
Wait, yeah, God bless you. Take care, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Hello, Damien.
Hi, Mohammed. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, thank you. Where are you in the globe?
Right now, I'm in Uganda.
Oh, really? Okay,
working with orphans.
I thought you might be in America. You sound a little bit American. Where are you from? Are you from Uganda?
No, I'm not. No, I'm originally from Syria. I've grown up, had to move around the world often, but then I've also situated in Canada for quite some time.
Okay. Well, so what's Uganda like? Is it very hot?
Uganda is actually pretty nice weather. It is hot, but I feel like Saudi Arabia is a little hotter for some reason, even though Uganda technically is closer to the equator.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's nice to meet you. I wasn't expecting you to say Uganda, but I'm sure it's probably. I was just going to ask you. You in the Quran, I'm Christian. Well, I'm not a practicing Christian, but I'm Christian. I suppose I would identify myself as Christian. I'm a Roman Catholic by birth, and I'm looking into, the theology of Christianity. So you in the Quran you have about the birth of Jesus, and you believe that's a miracle birth.
Correct. Yes, the Quran is talking about a fatherless birth.
A fatherless birth. Yeah, I think that's a nicer way of putting it. Actually, yeah, I could prefer that way. So I just wonder what your thoughts are as to why that happened.
This is because Okay, so God tells us in the Quran, the mother of Mary, he dedicated the child in her stomach to God, i.e., she wanted her child to serve God in a sense of calling towards God. But as soon as she gave birth, her first reaction was, God, it's a girl. And God says that He knows that it's a girl, and a boy and a man is not the same. They're obviously there's differences, right? And then she asked God to protect Mary and her seed.
Also,
Now,
you're talking about Jesus' maternal grandmother, even though not. Mary's mother you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Mary's mother wanted to dedicate a child to God for the ministry of God. But
Okay.
God does not send women, He sends men. So she was very shocked when she saw women. So Jesus is technically Mary's heart without a father. He is from Mary to do the ministry that Mary was set out to do. But God wanted to make it as an example of a mother and a son. That relationship and how that relationship should be, one. And two, He wanted to produce a human being without a father as a miracle to prove Mary's innocence and to prove Mary's loyalty to God, i.e., she kept herself extremely pure for God.
So, I never heard that before. That in the sense of Mary's grandmother. That's the first time I've heard that. So you're saying basically because Mary's mother wanted to have a child who, so that you're kind of saying Mary's mother had a fitra, really, and wanted to have a daughter who would be close to God.
Well, she wanted somebody to be almost a messenger or a prophet. So that's why she was very shocked when she got a girl. As God says in a few times that He only sends men. He doesn't send women to do the profiting or the role of a prophet or a messenger.
Are you saying that Mary's mother was asking God to get her pregnant with a prophet's child?
She was dedicating her child to God, and therefore he would have been a prophet.
Okay.
But when she saw that it was a girl, it shocked her.
Right.
And then from Mary's heart, from literally just Mary's DNA, a man came out who did the public ministry. So God blessed the mother of Mary. He blessed her with 2 generations, and they were both extremely pure. So He multiplied the blessing.
And is there any other stories in all our theological history in all of the religions of anything similar of a miracle birth that you're aware of?
I believe there are some other religions which they do talk about a fatherless birth. Even in the Egyptian religion, when it comes down to their the entity which they claim is the sun god, they like I'm saying exalted the Lord upon what they ascribe. But they say that Ra is also of a virgin birth, and then Roman
but that would be Ra, the sun god, is it?
Sun, even though he's not a god, but yes. So they have a very similar things, but they also have where he died for 3 days and he came back to life, which is similar to what the Christians say.
Right. Okay. So you mean the resurrection?
Yes, we don't believe in resurrection. The Quran denies that Jesus died on the cross. Jesus was put to death and He was raised to God, but there was no crucifixion because God has a promise to His messengers, to His prophets, that He will rescue them. And dying on a cross is humiliating. Even I believe in the Old Testament that it's a damnation, it's a curse.
Yeah, I've heard. I live near, Speaker's Corner in London.
Yes,
I've just come from there today. So I live quite near there. So I get involved with a lot of the different debates with Hamza, the Muslim Lantern, a few people like that, and all very, very, very healthy debates. Now, all I would say on this, the crucifixion thing, would be that, do you know Simon of Cyrene? Do you know who that
Simon
is?
of who?
Cyrene, Cyrene.
Cyrene. It's not the Simon, the disciple of Jesus at that point.
No, no, no. It's the Simon of and I'm not the
No, I
Simon.
don't.
Okay, the Simon of the disciple of Jesus became Peter. So that's Simon Peter, unless there's another Simon. I don't think there is, but no. Simon of Cyrene was a Roman, just a local nobody, basically, who happened to be passing by on the Dolorosa when the crucifixion was happening, and the Roman soldiers basically said, "We want you to help him carry the cross." So he was nothing to do with Jesus, and or somebody just kind of put a comment about it actually just there in front of seeing it come up on your screen. So he carried the cross to help Jesus carry the cross, basically, probably for the Romans to make them get it over and done with quicker. You know, if we kind of look at it that way. And basically, in the Bible, I'm not sure where in the Bible, but his sons are referenced, Rufus and Alexander, in somewhere in the New Testament. So there's testimony about, I'm not sure if it's Paul telling somebody to go and visit their mother, you know. So I think himself and Mary, obviously the mother, Mary Magdalene, they had a pretty, good view of what was going on. So that's the kind of biblical side. But I always look for. I've got a very inquiring mind. I won't just accept anything just because something says it, you know. So I just find the scholarly evidence for the crucifixion, you know, Tacitus, Josephus, Ignatius, I think, you know, all from around the time, and their level of scholarship. Tacitus was a renowned Roman scholar. So they were all writing about crucifixion, and I just struggle with your view on the crucifixion kind of coming 600 years later when we see all the data that we can see within the Bible, but not just the Bible. I wouldn't just accept the Bible. But I see all the scholarly texts saying this happened. So I kind of struggle with that. But when you say about Jesus not being crucified, that God wouldn't kill, I see Jesus as a divine and a human at the same time. So even though he's physical, he came in flesh. You know, he came incarnate. I kind of believe that's what the Alpha and the Omega means. He was the only one to ever, and the last to incarnate into creation. But basically, he would never die, just by the very nature of none of us ever die. Do you see what I mean, Mohammed? You know, we all came from as a soul into our bodies, and then we go back, hopefully, to the right place. Do you know what I mean?
I can understand that concept, and that's actually something that's written in the Quran, that all of us is tasting death, and obviously Jesus tasted death.
On the physical way, yeah.
Yeah, if everyone's physically tasting death, but you see, I believe, my good brother Damien, is that you had these conversations extensively. So I think you know the talking points of what the Quran is saying.
I look at everything, Muhammad. I'm not a serial or a learned debater. You'd be giving me. You give me a compliment by saying that, to be quite honest. Something comes to my mind, I come up and I bring it up just to see where I go. You know?
I mean, the point that I was trying to make is that I think you know well enough the position of how Jesus is viewed in the Quran, or how he's presented.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
I might also perceive that you might not agree with it, because, as you said, that you've already that it's already been established for you 600 years before the Quran. But I think what we need to do is,
not so much. I wouldn't rely on the Bible, Muhammad. You know, from my stuff. I always go off. You know, like Hamza in Hamza's Den. You know, we have a mutual friend, ChatGPT. So I will go off it. I'm kind of being like her, you know. So I will go off and I will research. You know, I only recently found out. You know, Mark of the Gospels, the four Gospels, Matthew,
Yes.
Mark, Luke, and John.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't know if you're. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware, and it's something I just found out recently. Mark was the founder of the Coptic Christian Church in Egypt, and the story. So he was basically the scribe for Peter. So Peter hired him. Peter, the Peter who was the first, in Rome, and he translated Peter's sermons, and he's referencing them in the Gospel of Mark. So if you notice, if you ever read the Gospel of Mark, you'll see there's a lot of reference to Simon or to Peter. So, and when Peter died, when he was martyred, and he was hung upside down on the cross, because he wasn't worthy, he didn't feel to die the way Jesus died. Then Mark went to Egypt after that. So Mark was with Peter, but Mark wasn't a disciple, or Luke, And then he went to Egypt, and he found the first church. That's why you have St. Mark's Cathedral in Alexandria, and St. Mark is the patron saint of Egypt, of the Christian church, obviously, in Egypt. And another interesting thing is Mark's sandal repair guy was a guy called Eniana, okay? And he was fixing Mark's sandals on the street. And then Mark was telling him about Jesus. And he was so transfixed in what Mark was telling him that he put a needle through his hand, and he didn't feel the pain because of what Mark was telling him. He was so kind of transfixed by that. And then he converted to Christianity based on that testimony of Mark. And then he moved his way up the ladder and became the first pope, Say again?
Sorry, what I was trying to explain is, to me, what the religion is teaching me is, sorry, what I believe the religion is trying to teach me is on how I should be treating and acting and doing in my day-to-day as a human being.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Exactly. So I think a lot of those core fundamentals of how we're supposed to treat each other and what we're supposed to do in the work, there's a big overlap between Christianities and Muslim, and this is to me where we don't
agree with that.
where these discussions, like, I feel like they ran their course. I'm not going to change your mind, and you're not going to change mine, and I know that's your intention. But what
I don't think I would, Mohammed. I don't think I have that power to change your mind.
God does. God is the only one that can open our mind or close our ears. But what I was trying to make is that the discussion of the makeup of God, whether he's 3 equals 1 or whether Jesus was nailed, to me, I can't sit here and have these conversations constantly as it's, to you, it's the fundamental of the religion, but yet you agree the core of the religion is about our actions. So why don't we just work together instead of sitting here and trying to debate the day of judgment?
No, I would agree with that. I totally believe it's about who God sent us here as human beings first. I believe when God in the Christian teaching talks about creating us in His image, I believe He's not referring to the physical, the man and the woman in the physical. I believe He's referring to the soul. I've done a bit of research on that, and it came back saying there was a lot of scholarly belief that was the case. So my kind of so basically that's I think even Christians get caught up in the whole physical, the belief that it's, male and female, and I just I believe our soul is probably part of God in some way. I don't know. This is just an idea, and it goes back to the Creator. I think we're part of the Creator to some degree. And go back there. But I do agree with you. I think if we can, I do see the beauty in people. In Muslims especially. Mostly. But I do think the most important thing is how we live our daily lives, how we interact with each other.
That's why God sent Jesus as an example for the children of Israel.
Right. I've heard this discussion saying Jesus came for the Jews, but in the New Testament, obviously, we have different. The resurrected Jesus talks about to the disciples as the resurrected Jesus, saying, "Go out and make disciples of all nations." And then I think it might be John or Matthew, I'm not sure, where it says, "God loved the world so much, He sent His only Son." So the interesting point about that is when you believe about the miracle birth, and if we get text into Christianity saying about God sent His only Son. There's a bit of a correlation there, Mohammed, don't you think, in those two thinkings?
You could, I could see how you could.
You see why I would say that?
Yeah, I can see the connections that you're making. I just don't genuinely agree that this is what is being told. But so yes, obviously the children of Israel, their goal, the reason why children of Israel were picked is to guide people to God. They were given the book, so they guide the Gentiles to God. So when Jesus is being sent to the children of Israel, at the end of the day, it's for the benefit of the whole world. It's not just the children of Israel. But if the children of Israel do not fulfill their task, which is to tell the world about God and to guide people towards God, then they've disrespected the entities like Jesus, like Abraham, like Moses, like Jesus, like Job, David, everyone who was sent to help the world understand the mission of children of Israel.
I do think, Mohammed, slightly off topic here, is what I am a strong believer in what Israel's behavior at the moment is absolutely shocking.
Well, I mean, they just hijacked the name, but the children of Israel cover a lot of people, including Palestinians, because child of Israel is the seed of Israel. So there's a lot of Muslims, there's a lot of Christians, there's a lot of atheists that are technically the child of Israel, and the land is for everybody. So there's a verse in the Quran that says that the children of Israel are not allowed to kick themselves away from their homes. So that's what they're doing. It's the Jewish child of Israel killing the Muslim child of Israel.
Yeah, it's, I think sometimes when I hear, especially Speaker's Corner, when I hear Christian people supporting Israel, I get upset because whatever my thinking around Christianity, my beliefs, I can see what's going on in Israel is separate. I'm not going to get led along, and not see what's wrong. I can see very clearly the behavior is wrong. It's just wrong. There's so many people have died, and I think there's probably a lot more just not being accounted for yet with the rubble. And I don't understand how people under the guise of Christianity cannot say, sorry, no, this is just wrong. This is just wrong. We can be Christians and still think this is wrong. We don't have to support Israel's behavior, So, anyway,
I mean, they don't represent what the Jewish religion preaches, and they're definitely not representing what the household of Israel was about. So they're a flaw theology or a flaw theocracy.
I see a lot of. I've been on a couple of the Palestinian marches, and I got a lot of slack from certain people for it. But for me, it's not about religion. It's about humanity and one country abusing and killing another. That's it. For me, it's not about religion in my head. It's just about right and wrong. But on the marches, there was many Hasidic Jews. Lining Park Lane. I don't know if you know Park Lane in London, but and the guys with the big hats, and they're all lining. They were saying we're anti-Zionist, we're anti-Semitic, because they were bringing in some crazy law. They were trying to saying if you were anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic, which obviously complete rubbish. But so most people can see. I think most people can see what's wrong. I think there's an awakening going on in the world, and I think you can't behave in any way you want to without having to be accountable, whether it's here or in the next level. So I do believe in that. I do believe, I have a strong belief in God. I'm not a religious person. I enjoy looking and learning about theology and putting, joining the dots, so to speak, about who the people are. Yeah, I kind of enjoy that, but I have a strong belief.
Brother Damien, I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do have a few people that I have to get through. I've been now a total of 5 hours. So
and I'm a chat about in Irish, so I apologize. So it's cool. Anyway,
it's all good.
Thank you
for coming by, and it was nice meeting you. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. You too. See you soon.
of that. Justice is a lie.
Hey, Mohammed, nice to meet you. Can you hear me?
Salam, yes. Okay, 1 second. So you asked the question, is Muhammad infallible? No. Is Muhammad's word infallible? No. The Quran is infallible. If no to both, what reasonings do Sunnis use that we should trust his exegesis? We do not have his exegesis, especially when communicated via untrustworthy people through the millennia. Exactly. What does Allah mean when he says we have perfected the religion? God says we have completed the religion. So God has completed what he is accepting of people from their form of submission. Okay, what does it mean by perfected and religion? Religion is deen, what you owe God, and what God has put as almost like a trade. Deen comes from the word dain, which is something that you're indebted to. So it could also mean law. Another way of understanding the word deen in Arabic, which people say is religion, and it's the same as English. It means law. So God says in chapter 12 of the Quran, Deenul Malik, the religion of the king, or the law of the king. So this is what I believe religion means. As perfected here, the word perfected was not used. Atmamt wa akmalt. Atmamt is I have finalized. Akmalt, I have completed. Perfected is not something that applies to human beings. Can you explain the timeline and events that Sunni use in their chain of narrations explanations? So in the chain of narrations did not start to happen except in the opposite era, after there was a big division between the Sunnis and the Shia. So they wanted a way to identify what is Shia hadith and what is Sunni hadith. And therefore, they made a set of Sahabis that they would take from, which they would consider Sunnis, and the Shias had their chains, what they would consider Shia. So for the people to, one, authenticate that it's the actual proper hadith, they had the Sahih chains, the authentic chains, and these authentic chains would signify which sect that this hadith belongs to. That's when it started to occur.
What is these debaters' explanation for pre-750? Like how did these narrations or communications of the Prophet go from his lifetime to 750?
I'm gonna have to say a swear word here, so I apologize in advance. The way that they passed this off, this anomaly of 150 years, by saying that there's 3 rightly guided generations, the first 3 generations, and apparently the 4th generations is they all became fuckboys and they could not keep the religion together. So the first 3 were computer minds that cannot make a mistake and everything was pinpoint and accurate. And the 4th generation that is not rightly guided, they're the ones who recorded what the first 3 generations did. And you have to trust the 4th generations because they're talking about the first 3 generations, yet it's very clear that the 4th generation was full of, again, sorry for the word, fuckboys, because Bukhari had to record 99%. He recorded 1% of the 99% of lies that he found, and he gave you 7,000 hadith. So I don't know what happened with the 4th generation, but this is the anomaly.
Okay, so their explanation is the first 3 generations, for whatever reason,
infallible.
We just trust them. Yeah,
you just trust them. They're very well guided, rightly guided.
Okay.
Even though the Quran tells you about the people around Prophet Muhammad who were hypocrites, there's people that would hear what the Prophet would say, yet they would go change it at night, something else. There's people that would say what the Prophet said, yet they never met the Prophet. Yet there's people that would play around the words. Those people don't exist in the first 3 generations. None of them were, excuse me for the word again, fuckboys.
Yeah, even just like the non-religious or non-doctrinal history shows a lot of backstabbing and lying and cheating and stealing amongst those people. Yeah.
Right. So you gotta also see that within Christianity there was a miscommunication between the disciples and Jesus. So the disciples are the ones who turned on Jesus. And if you look at the Quran and what it says about Moses, when Moses was instructed to tell his people to go fight, Moses eventually at the end of the conversation said to God, I only have me and my brother. everybody else turned on me. Like I don't have except me and my brother. So the prophet is not going to have a set of people that are as loyal and as extremely good as people like to paint them. They're going to be the first people that turn on to the prophet.
Got it.
Not all of them. Obviously, there's going to be guided people and good people, but the closest people to him are usually his enemies, starting with Abu Huraira.
I have two questions that are sort of related to each other. One was brought up in the debate, I think. Why is it so significant that some surahs were revealed in Medina versus Mecca? Why does
It's
that
not
matter?
significant.
Okay.
People are putting significance to it just so that they could attach it to the reason why these verses have appeared. You do not need to know the reason for these verses to appear. You need to see how it applies to you, because the book is an example for all things. Obviously, right now, let's assume that there is no cause for us to immigrate because we're being scrutinized for our religion. So those verses right now are on standby for a generation that does get affected by those events. We're not fighting wars, some of us, so we're not going to look at the verses about war and we cannot apply them. But okay, we have parents, we have the disbelievers, we have all these other sects that we have to deal with where the Quran does address them. So I don't care which one is Medina and which one is Mecca. It's not why God sent these books.
Okay, final question, and then I'll let you go. Does your reading of the Quran, like the order of the chapters you read in, matter?
No.
Okay. So the Quran that most people have today is just sort of like a default.
That's the order that they've put it after the prophet's passing away. Is there some amazing things that you could grasp from this order? Yes. So is it been accepted by God that this effort that they put? Yes. Was there some God's revelation or God's interference between it? Highly possible. But is it mandatory as this is the way the Quran should be? I wouldn't say so. But would I sit and start to manipulate it? No. Why? Because I think that it's a fair enough standard.
Okay. Yeah, I was just mostly curious about how it might change if the chapters, revelations were in order. Yeah.
I hope you could see that because of the Quran and what God has guided me through his book, I was able to answer all your questions without having to sit and think, because the answers are very clear when you really do know the text.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your work, man. Appreciate it.
God bless you, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Mike, you thought I wasn't going to put you on. You're muted.
Hey, I was starting to worry there.
I know.
Well, you voted me down over on the other channel.
Hey, look, he accused you of blasphemy. It's not my channel. I know I have to hear your side of the story. I have to have witnesses, but I didn't want to start the fight there. But sure. I'm pretty sure that we were going to speak.
That's fine. And, you know, Yemeni definitely hates me and stuff. And I like Muhammad over on COVFF. He lets me on still. And even though his chat's like, oh, Mike's a blasphemer.
Well, did you insult the prophet?
I have no idea. It depends on what
I would take that as a yes then.
So
I would take that as a yes. You might not have seen it as an insult, but for someone else's view, they could take it as an insult. I think you're very aware of that.
Sure. As they say, offense cannot be given, it can only be taken.
All right, then.
So, yeah, I was on
the accusations from a person who does love the prophet was an accurate accusation.
Well, again, I have no idea. It was a Saturday.
Hey, Mike, I'm not here to judge you. I was just saying.
Well, I'm just telling you, when I got on Yemeni's front, he's like, people in the chat were like, oh, Mike's blasphemed. I have the receipts or something. And Yemeni's like, well, will you apologize? And I'm like, well, for what? He said, well, you've blasphemed the prophet or whatever. And I said, well, how? Tell me what I said that you consider to be blasphemy. And then he just booted me. And so I don't know. Have you seen any of the blasphemy cases out of Indonesia?
No.
Okay. So the first one is probably about 10 years ago. This guy and the Indonesians have usually 3 very long names, but he went by Ahok, A-H-O-K. He was the governor of Jakarta. Joko Widodo was the governor who became prime minister. So he moved up to being the governor. and then he had to run for election. And he was running, and this is in Jakarta. But anyways, he was a Chinese Christian, right? So there's two Muslims running against him, and one of the Muslims quotes the Quran.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Quotes the Quran is the last thing you said.
Yeah, he quotes 551, take not the Jews and the Christians for your allies. They are but allies to one another. Whoever among you verily becomes one of them, and God does not guide such evildoers. So the Muslim guy says, you can't vote for this Christian, right? He's not a Muslim. So Ahok responds to it and pretty much says, like, listen, if you think voting for me will send you to hell, then don't vote for me. You know, he's like, our program will go on and blah, blah, blah. So then, 200,000 Muslims come out protesting, saying he's blasphemed. They arrest him, middle of the election, and they throw him in jail. He got 2 years. I think he got out in 18 months on good behavior. But they literally convicted him of blasphemy for saying this guy's misquoting the Quran, saying you can vote for Christians. So since then, shortly after that, there was a woman, 44-year-old Chinese Buddhist. She goes to her local market. She asks this woman, she's known for 20 years. She said, hey, can you tell the guys at the mosque? I guess she lives close to the mosque, next door or whatever. The loudspeaker is getting louder and louder. It literally hurts my ears. Can you ask them to turn it down? So Muslims go crazy. They ransack like 14 Buddhist shrines in the area. They don't arrest the mob. They come and they arrest this woman, charge her with blasphemy. She gets 18 months in prison for asking them to turn the loudspeaker down. Since then,
you see, you're listing me stories of people's pains dealing with a sect that assume that they represent what Islam is, which I have proven in the debate and many times on my channel that they do not represent the message of God. So you're giving me cases of things that I would not deal with in the same fashion that they did. Because if somebody says that the Quran says it's not a crime to allow a Christian to lead, that's not blasphemy. That's his own interpretation. The lady asking for a little bit of peace and quiet is not blasphemy. She didn't say anything against the Quran. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't deal with it in the way that they're doing. But again, you're giving me stories of people I don't adhere to.
Okay, great. I appreciate your effect on that. I'm just telling you, like, where I'm coming from. They're accusing me of blasphemy. They won't tell me what I said that they consider blasphemous. I was literally in a chat the other day, and I said, if I say Muhammad's not a prophet, is that blasphemy? And the guy said, yeah.
That's not a blasphemy. That's your opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why
blasphemy,
we need
secularism. To me, what you're saying is a blasphemous statement, but you're not saying it in a way to offend me or insult me. This is your opinion. I'm not going to get mad at you for your opinion, but you're going to stand for your opinion. So if God is real, because I believe you're an atheist, and if there is a day of judgment, then you're going to hear the words again, and God goes, nope, he was a prophet. And then that's the end of the conversation. You are wrong.
Right. Okay.
That's it. So what am I supposed to do other than tell you, no, I believe he is. You don't believe it's the end of the story, Mike. All these people that get offended, then they need their religion verified for some reason. They have a mentality where they need validation. I don't need that validation. You don't want to believe that the prophet or Muhammad is a prophet? That's on you.
Okay. I appreciate
that. Fair?
That's very fair. And
yeah,
listen,
Mike, I'll tell you something, and you're going to understand this very well, because you're an atheist, right?
Correct.
There's thousands of man-made religions, but there's one real religion. That religion is peace. And what we want to do is achieve peace. You might not believe in God, but you still agree that we need to maintain the peace between us. Don't attack my religion, and I won't attack what's yours.
I would love to achieve peace on earth.
See,
it was interesting.
that's the religion.
Right.
But okay, for me, the way that I achieve peace is I believe in the highest power, which tells me do not transgress, which tells me that even if you don't believe in him, I don't have a right to hurt you, unless if you want to hurt me, then it's a different story. But I don't believe you're trying to hurt me. You're just going through your day to day and you're saying your things, but you believe that people want to take your voice because you just want to say things.
Right. I do think the Muslims do want to take my voice. I mean, we saw.
I don't.
Right, and it's not all Muslims. I say the Muslims all the time, and people.
No, you
interpret
mean
it as
Sunnis.
almost- Well,
Sunnis want to take my voice because I say I believe in the Quran, and that's
Sure.
not good enough.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
But
they would kill me before they kill you, by the way.
that might be you. I literally saw one guy talking about atheists might go to heaven before Shia did. Or
Hadith rejectors. Yeah, exactly.
Right, hadith rejectors, right? But
Right.
because you're an apostate, I'm just a disbeliever.
According to them, my
You're committing
like, I
shirk.
did worse than blasphemy. Yeah, I left the religion. My blood is halal. My blood is valid for spilling, according to some of them.
All right. That's funny. Daniel Hikaju was saying Ferris said he was a Kawarji, therefore his blood would be halal.
Right, and just like, but you have never entered Islam, so you just saying what you're saying is not worthy of you. So they'll kill me before they kill you, and I am technically a person who believes in God. So I know what you mean.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your channel. I appreciate the time to speak. Maybe I'll come back some other time. I had fun in your chat. Talked to a few people.
I saw that. I was letting it be.
Yeah,
But I
it's
hope also from the people in the chat to see that the interaction can be very simple if you give the person his God-given right. You don't believe in God, but he gave you rights in my book. So you want to say what you want. I can't even insult you because if I insult you, you're going to insult my God. So why would I insult you?
Right. Well, and that it says in the Quran, don't insult the other gods. They might insult your God, right? Which
so exactly.
I found it ironic. I was watching Dawa Wise, and they were talking about the big Hindu festival,
The Hindu gods,
Melun Kum or something, and
Mhm.
they seem to be laughing and mocking them a bit, which I don't mind because I think that's
Right.
the first commandment of atheism: mock all religions. I'm just kidding. There's no book of atheism, but anyway, I thought it was ironic because
I think Mike, with the right reason, you
I
might
find
believe.
to be a nice guy, although they blocked me at Dawa Wise last time. But Mohammed over at Covington Faith Foundation, he's a nice guy. Some guys do Dawa better than others, I guess. I like the Muslim Lantern.
I hope you enjoyed your space here. So it was nice talking to you.
I did. Thank you very much. Y'all have a
You're
good
welcome.
evening or morning wherever you're at.
And you as well, Mike. You take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end. Thank you very much for tuning in to the debate. And for the post debate, I hope I've answered your questions because I'm here to answer questions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we did find an orphanage in a school here in Uganda that houses 300 children, right? I'm going to make a presentation of this school. The person is a very good person. Right now, I think I've spoken about him a few times. I've seen even the way that I met him, the connection, and the way because after the fiasco with that little rat who's hiding right now, he's in hiding, who's not getting any money from anybody at this point. I prayed to my Lord and I asked God, I was like, God, I still have the money that people donated, and I really want to put it in a place where it's worth it. And this man, the way that we met and the circumstances, he can't speak English. He speaks the local language. But the moment that I called, there was somebody in the room that knew how to speak English. In that specific moment, he was able to guide me to where the general city to where the orphanage and the school is. He just gave me the school name. And when we got there, I tried to call the person back, but his phone would not ring. And we just kept driving around until we literally just got to the school. Obviously, we asked one person, two persons, but all they would say is just like, do this, like keep going. We kept going around this bush, like literally, we're off road in a car that cannot do off road. We're going through these bumps and ups and downs, and then we see it right in front of us. And subhanAllah, God really wanted us to, well, God answered my prayers and took me to that place. And now I've already started helping them. They need a few things. They want to build a kitchen for the people to eat, and this is what we're doing. So I really hope we make a difference for these children, because there you could clearly see that these children is much different than the fake presentation that we had. These children really are pleasant. They've well educated. They like that people care for them, but they have that experience that they had nobody. You could see it in their eyes that they don't have parents, that they are their own friends, because it's a group of people. It's like The Outsiders, if you ever read that book. It's kind of weird to explain that it's sad, but God is definitely with the orphans. And on the day of judgment, they have a favor with Lord for how much they had to endure. And it boils my blood, like it boils my blood, knowing that people are stealing from these kids or using them or making fake orphans to steal from the food that is for these children. Because one thing that this man stressed to us, that they have to hustle day in, day out to feed these children. These kids cost $300, $200 to $300 a day in feeding. And this man is hustling so hard to make sure these kids are fed. Guys, 300 kids at $1 for 2 meals a day. Do you understand? But to this place here in Uganda, in the middle of Africa, $300 is not easy to come by. So help them, so God will help you. And I'm going to post it here. I'm sorry the pictures are not the right pictures, but I would love for you guys to donate from what you can donate for these people to have a better chance. And yeah, we met one of the boys that is a product of the orphanage. He went through all of the schools, like all the levels that they had available for the schools. And now he is also helping and taking care of the orphans. He's a very polite brother. And it was a pleasure meeting them. I will have a presentation about that place soon. God willing, we have some videos. And I need to go to sleep because I have a long day tomorrow. God bless you guys. Thank you very much for tuning into the debate. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. God's blessings and mercy and love be upon all of you. Peace. Salam. Don't be like the fourth generation.